This is what it looks like when Democrats have a monopoly over society. Woke cities in America are imploding, and yours may be next. In this video, we're going to take a look at the collapse of some of the worst cities in our nation, how woke mayors and city councils are doing absolutely nothing to stop it, and how a mass exodus of Leftugees is shifting all the political power to the red states. You're not going to want to miss this. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here with you. Great to be with you. As always, we are your daily fake news antidote, as each and every day we provide patriotic analysis to help you to think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Before we jump into things here, let's give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video, and that is the makers of this beautiful, this awesome, this totally cool fighter flare flashlight. You're going to love this one. One of the best things that you can invest for your protection when the lights go out is this 6-in-1 beauty, which comes with a 3000 mAh solar-powered recharging battery. It's equipped with a high and low beam light that you can see from miles away. It has an emergency strobe light. It's got a compass. It's got a wire and rope cutter. It's got an emergency glass breaker hammer and a high-powered military-grade magnet. It is awesome. And best of all, if you click on that link below right now, you're going to get 20% off the regular price, but supply is limited, so don't wait. Click on that link below. Get your own super awesome fighter flare flashlight. Get one for your friends, your loved ones. Get one today. All right, let's dive right in here, gang. If you've been perusing the headlines of late, it's very clear that everyone, yes, everyone, even the far left activists disguised as journalists in our mainstream media, are admitting that the violent crime rate in our nations has literally reached epidemic proportions. Here's just a sample of the headlines from the last few days. This one from CNN. Crime is becoming one of America's biggest political issues. This from New York Times. With homicides rising, cities brace for a violent summer. And the byline reads, homicide rates in large cities were up more than 30% on average last year and up another 24% for the beginning of this year. My favorite, gun violence is surging in New York, but advocates worry about more policing. If that doesn't sum up the absurdity of our imploding Democrat cities, I frankly don't know what does. Needless to say, all of this violence is nothing less than a major indicator of the implosion of our nation's cities, or better, our nation's Democrat-dominated woke cities. The worst city by far in terms of absolute societal implosion's got to be Chicago. Look at this. Just last weekend, look at this. 54 people in Chicago were shot. 5 are dead. And this is just a normal weekend in this once great city. But don't worry. Don't worry, the ultra-leftist Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, she's got it all in control. She's busy granting interviews only to so-called journalists of color. Local reporters from NBC5 Chicago reported that they were being denied interview requests with the mayor precisely because the reporters were the wrong skin color. She was only granting interviews to black or brown journalists, and this is in accord with her recent declaration that racism is, quote, a public health crisis. What a parody of absurdity. Needless to say, Chicago's imploding. For example, Chicago's Englewood neighborhood, it's one of the more depressed areas of Chicago, and that's saying something. It has a poverty rate of around 44%, which is more than double than that of Chicago's median unemployment rate of 20%. It's an absolutely depressed area. At its height in 1960, it had nearly 100,000 residents within its approximately 3 square miles. Today, barely 30,000 people live there. Just completely imploding area of an increasingly imploding city. Chicago's almost $1 billion in the red. They're facing a massive budget shortfall of over $700 million, and that's most likely just the tip of the iceberg. It's going to get worse. But of course, it's not just Chicago. The Democrat-monopolized Baltimore has turned into nothing less than a rat-infested hellhole. Homicides are up 17% this year, following 2020, which recorded the highest violent crime rates in that year in a decade. It used to be a beautiful city. Keep in mind, I worked in the Peabody Library in downtown Baltimore for a couple of years. I'll never forget a photograph display they had of Baltimore in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The city was it was immaculate. It was called Charm City. They still call it today, but look at this. Baltimore, a major American city with a Major League Baseball team and NFL football team. Look at this. Their population has dropped to under 600,000 for the first time in over a century. It's just a tragedy. And speaking of once great cities, how about New York City? According to the NYPD, this year thus far, shootings are up an astonishing 166%. The state of New York has lost an astonishing 320,000 residents, 320,000 in the last 5 years, and we can see precisely where they're losing population. That, of course, is New York City. It's almost becoming commonplace now to read articles declaring the death of New York. It's estimated that between March and May of last year, get this, between the months of March and May, during a 3-month period, New York lost almost 500,000 residents fleeing the city. An estimated 420,000 residents left the city. In July of last year, there was a record 13,000 apartment vacancies across Manhattan. New lease signings fell by nearly 25%. New York has seen its average real estate sale price fall by an astonishing 18%. On the West Coast, San Francisco rent prices for a one-bedroom apartment have dropped 11.8% in the last year, and they are continuing to fall. We've also seen residential vacancy rates nearly double. They've jumped from 4% to 6%, and commercial rental vacancies have jumped from 5% to nearly 10%. In downtown LA, condo sales have dropped 42%. We could go on and on and on. I think we're seeing nothing less than the Detroitification of our woke cities, right? Detroit used to be a vibrant city. Today, I mean, it's a thoroughly depressed and dilapidated city, which is, as it turns out, becoming the model for what's happening to virtually all woke cities across the nation. And I gotta say, if you live in a woke city, it may be time to consider leaving. If you're in a blue state like I am, or like Joe Rogan was, or Elon Musk, I mean, I think this clear pattern of urban degeneracy in our backyards might need to force us to find refuge in red states. And that is why this implosion of our woke cities is having dramatic political consequences for the future of leftist liberalism in our nation. One of the most significant democratic developments of late is a phenomenon known as de-urbanization, where more and more populations are leaving urban areas than, frankly, we've ever seen. We have to remember that at the beginning of the 19th century, 90% of our population was rural and only 10% was urban. By the end of the 19th century, it was reversed. 90% was urban and only 10% were rural. And this, of course, was because of the Industrial Revolution and the phenomenon of urbanization. But now, really for the first time in over a century, now populations are de-urbanizing. We're seeing nothing less than a mass exodus from our nation's cities. But again, more specifically, not all of our cities, but woke cities dominated by Democrats and blue states. And as a result, we're seeing both population political power shifting to conservative red states. You will definitely want to check out a video I did on the massive shift in political power towards red states. It's going to absolutely make your day. But the upshot of this is Texas, Florida, and North Carolina, okay, 3 states that voted twice for President Donald Trump, are set to gain a combined 4 seats in Congress in 2023 because of population growth, granting them collectively as many new votes in the Electoral College for the next presidential election as Democrat-infested Hawaii has in total. The electoral votes gained by these 3 states combined to make up for what would have been lost as radically liberal blue state like Hawaii. So it's pretty impressive stuff. By contrast, California, for the first time ever, has actually lost a House seat due to its rampant depopulation. The same thing goes for New York. Same thing goes for Illinois. The deep blue states are quite literally hemorrhaging residents. And we're seeing that hemorrhaging primarily in their urban areas. People have had it. They want nothing more to do with these failed left-wing social experiments and wokeness that are nothing less than an abject disaster. They're fleeing to red states, and like we explored in another video that you definitely want to check out, The data that we have is that these Leftugees are voting overwhelmingly Republican. It does appear that the days of the Democrat-dominated cities are coming to an end, since it increasingly appears that just a few short years, there'll be nothing more for them to dominate. Now, before you go, you will definitely want to check out my latest video on Joe Biden personally and politically sinking as his cognitive deficiencies have clearly caught up with him. You're not going to want to miss it. So make sure to click on the link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.